Hello, guys, and welcome back to Between the Ropes TV. Now, we're bringing you some news this morning, personally, for me, it's not good news. Chris Arreola has been offered the Anthony Joshua fight for December the 17th. Now, Eddie Hearn talked publicly last week about how, obviously, with the collapse of the Fury Joshua fight, that it would probably be Wembley Arena, which is like a 10,000-11,000 capacity seat, which is that's a lot smaller than what Anthony Josh is used to fighting to, certainly in the last 5 or 6 years. But it's the best of what's available. And I'm going to be honest, at that point, I thought, right, so you've got a reduced gate, the O2 is like, what, 20,000. I did think, okay, I wonder who we're going to get as an opponent. And now reports have broke this morning that Chris Arreola has been offered the fight. Now, just a little bit about Chris Arreola, in case people didn't know, he's currently 38-7 with the one draw. He's been stopped 3 times. Obviously, we'll all remember, I think it's back in 2016, he got stopped by Deontay Wilder. He does have 33 stoppages on the slate, though, so he can obviously bang a bit. But he's 41 now. And, you go back, you look at his, recent-ish resume. He's fought 4 times in the last 4 years, in all fairness, but he hasn't fought since last year's defeat to Andy Ruiz. But he did take Ruiz the distance, in all fairness. So, I mean, compare it across to Tyson Fury potentially fighting Manuel Charr, I think it's fair to say that, Chris Arreola is a much better opponent anyway, certainly than Charr, but we'll see if that fight gets confirmed. But for me, this fight's just not exciting. I mean, win, lose or draw, I always really respect Anthony Joshua for the fact that he takes on the best. I know Eddie Hearn's turned into a little bit of a meme talking about Anthony Joshua's resume, but the fact is, at the end of the day, you've got to actually respect that resume. Dylan White, Charles Martin, Eric Molina, but when Molina was a force, Brazil as well. Brazil was undefeated. And the list goes on, doesn't it? Klitschko, Parker, Takam, Povetkin, Pulev, obviously Ruiz, those 2 fights, and obviously he's also had his 2 losses now to Alexander Usyk. But Usyk's a pound-for-pound number 1, so I don't think there's a shame in those losses at all. And regardless, we're used to him fighting the best of what's available. And people may criticise some of the ages of those people, Povetkin and Pulev in particular, but they were mandatory challengers, so you can't blame Anthony Joshua for that. He's fighting who he's told to fight. So I'm just a bit disappointed that, after the second Usyk loss, Eddie Hearn said, well, this is good in a way. We've now got freedom. We can pick who we're going to fight. And I thought, well, that's quite exciting. I immediately thought, a Dylan White rematch, that's long overdue, in my opinion. I know it came close in 2018 at Wembley, but that's a fight I'd love to see. Makes sense. Both, DAZN Matchroom fighters. We can get that one on. I was not expecting a Chris Arreola. I've got to be brutally honest about that. I did wonder if we would see a Zhilei Zhang fight, purely based off Zhang's stock went up in that Hrgovic fight. Obviously, the DAZN Matchroom connection. I thought that may be a fight that makes sense, top 15. And Zhang, I think, still got enough in the tank to keep AJ honest. And don't get me wrong, I'd still pick Anthony Joshua to win that fight. But there's enough in Zhang to make us interested in watching that fight. I just don't get that same vibe with Chris Arreola, I'll be brutally honest. It stinks at 41 years old for me, coming over to the UK. It just stinks of one last payday. It really does. And then, that begs the next question then. Is it a pay-per-view fight? It would have to be, I would assume, with the money that's being talked about that DAZN are paying Anthony Joshua. However, it really shouldn't be. The only way that fight is a pay-per-view for me is with a monster undercard. And I mean world title fights, final eliminators, European title fights. Some of a Galal fight would need to be on there for me in terms of a serious prospect who's still fighting for titles. It needs to be a really big undercard. So, I mean, guys, let us know in the comments section what you think on this. Compare it to the Charr fight as well, because I'm interested to see what people think about these two, because I think we all got our hopes up of a potential Fury AJ, and instead we're going to be finishing the year on potentially Fury Charr and Anthony Joshua versus Chris Arreola. Disappointing times. It's been a terrible week for boxing, but we're back next week with lots of content. Also got a really good interview dropping in the morning, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one.